welcome to Missy's Imaginings. In the last video, we did box openings for these two bodies that I'm going to use to reshell some of these characters and just to give a couple more height and to give this guy a little more girth. So I opened these bodies, but before I can just switch out and put the heads on, I need to do some prep work on MiroDoll bodies. So they need to be restrung and wired, which is something I like to do. These bodies tend to be a little bit floppy. So when you're going to be working on a BJD, there's some things you might want to have on hand. The first thing, if you're going to wire them, obviously, is the wire. This is a 14 gauge just utility wire. This one, I couldn't find the gauge, but the difference is that this is a coated wire. It's a wire that's coated in a colored plastic. This has a 100-pound workload. This has a 75-pound workload. So sometimes that can make a difference, especially if you're dealing with large third scale BJDs, especially if you get up into the like 78 and 80 centimeter height. That's a lot of resin and it can be really heavy. So a heavier wire is helpful. However, I will say this, though I love this wire, it has a couple drawbacks. So we'll take a look at it. The first one is that sometimes the plastic on the ends can shift and expose the wire, so it can be prone to kind of scratch. So you still need to tape over the ends if you don't want it to scratch inside the doll's arms or legs. Also, because this is thicker, having the plastic coating, it is more difficult in dolls that have really narrow channels in their parts, especially in the realm of the shoulders and the arms. Sometimes the channels are real small, and then like the little peanuts inside the elbows have very small channels. So when you're looking at wire and elastic, especially if you tend to double the wire, it's going to add up really fast and be hard to get through those channels. So you just have to adjust your plan of attack so that a lot of times if I'm using this wire, I'll only use it in the torso and legs doubled, but then in the arms I use it as a single wire just because of the thickness. This one isn't quite as thick, so here, let's see if we can just get to where we can actually see those. Hopefully that will show up well, but you can see the difference in the thickness, and that does make a huge difference when you're trying to string it through all the parts. But I have used both. I do like this as far as stability, but this is a little bit easier to put where I want it. So that being said, we'll move these off to the side. Tools that I use a lot are a good pair of pliers. I have a couple of my Dolly Doctor boxes here, and this is a bag of vinyl pieces. It's a very thick vinyl, and they're little circle discs in different sizes. One side is the plasticky vinyl side, the other is a cloth side. I use these to create tension in the joints. If they're a little bit floppy, I can use these kind of like a shim, and I just cut a hole in the center with my scissors and then thread the wire and elastic through those, so it gives a little bit more friction and tension to help hold joints. If I only need to create a little bit more, I've got lots of these. Then let's see, we have this toolbox. So I have a couple of different types of hooks to hold, like to take the heads off, to get a hold of the hooks, to draw things through the joints. Then I also have, let's see if we can get them all out here, some large forceps, just clamps. Somewhere I have some smaller ones. Oh, here we go. I have two pair of small ones. There we go. Then I also have some strings that came out of, I think, old hoodies that I no longer have. So I have, this one is just, it's like a corded string with the little shoelace ends. And then I also have one that's a little bit more fuzzy. But this is really nice to use to draw through, to pull elastic down through. And then it also has the little shoelace ends. So that makes it nice when I'm trying to thread it through something. It's just a little bit easier. So I have two of those that I use. I have some wire cutters for cutting wire, obviously. I do have a few pieces of the old colored wire that I used a lot. They kind of got a little bit worn out. And so when I was replacing this wire with the heavier wire, I saved these that I can still use for quarter scale dolls because they're not quite as heavy. So this I used to get at the Dollar Tree, the colored wire, but they don't carry it anymore. But I saved what I had. So yeah, and then of course if you're dealing with the heads, sometimes you'll need additional hooks for holding their heads. So I have different types of S hooks. These I got at like hardware store. Then I bought a keychain that can be used, a round keychain that can be used to hold up threads. It's just a little bit harder because you have to loop it in, but it can work. Then I have purchased little tiny S hooks online. So I have a bunch of little ones that I bought online, I think from Amazon, and in a couple different sizes. So some were extras that came with dolls that I've purchased. Some, like I say, I bought online, and I have different weights of, here's another S hook. So I have different weights of all of these items that makes it nice as well. So there's those. Oh, I do have this package I bought off Amazon. I was a little disappointed, however, because these, though they have kind of a decent size, they're really floppy, so they're not as strong. So these would not be as helpful. So just be careful when you're buying them. Thankfully, these weren't very expensive, but yeah, they aren't very helpful. Okay, so to get started, we'll go ahead and, let's see, I think I want to start with getting this guy taken care of first, which I believe is this body. All right, so we're going to change this guy over to this body. So first, we'll need to get him restrung. And be warned, there is dolly nudity coming, because in order to string these, I have to take them apart and have all their pieces laid out. So, and I have just a blanket here just so it's easier to see the actual parts. I usually do this where I'm sitting on the floor or I'm sitting on my bed so I can more easily grasp and use things, because sometimes you'll have to like brace things against your leg because that elastic gets really tight and you might need more leverage. And at the sewing table, it's harder because everything is up higher. So anyway, so that's what I tend to do. So that's why it's all here. And I'm just trying to make it more pleasing to the eye with this little blanket, and also so you can see all the parts. So to begin, I know that this guy is strung really loose. So see how easy that pulls. So I know I'm going to have to tighten the strings. My question comes into play. I'm going to grab a pair of these forceps here and just see if I pull that. That might not be too bad once I put the head in, if I leave the strings as they are. So I don't think I'm going to shorten the strings yet until I get a head on the top and then see how that affects. But I know that his arms are also very, very loose. So the first order of business is you can take out the top hook but then the knots get kind of hard to get out of the neck. So a lot of times I like to just start with the feet, but this guy has a really deep groove, so I might not be able to do that. Okay, so I think we are going to have to just start at the top, and I'm going to grab a hold of this and try to pull it out. And a lot of times I don't like to do this just with my finger because it can kind of snap. So we're just going to try to get this off. There we go. So there we go. So there is the S-hook for the neck. And I'll put that over here to the side. And I'm going to kind of put my hooks and stuff where I normally have them to grab. Now that we've shown everything. Okay. Put the forceps here just to kind of get things out of the way. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and take this guy apart. And it's really important that you keep the leg pieces and everything separated. Let's see here. All right, now that I don't have as much tension, let's see if I can get the hook off of here. Yeah, this is going to be a difficult one to take out. So let's see. Of my tools, let's see if I can put the hook in here and get a hold of the S-hook to actually get it out. So this is some of the things you get to have fun with, is like, okay, can I get the pieces apart? Maybe. Okay, and there we go. So now I want to take this hook off the elastic, and I'll put it over here as well. Okay, so this is really thick elastic, but see how narrow this channel is and how deep it is to the little piece in there that it hooks on? So yeah, sometimes things are just kind of hard to get to, and that's why restringing can be a challenge. So just be prepared for that. So I'm going to keep this whole leg over there. Then I'm going to do the same on this leg. See if we can get this foot unhooked as well. There we go. And so essentially, oh, here, we'll take this out. What I did is I put the hook in to where I could hook onto this wire and then pull it up off of the little piece in there, because it is very deep. And then it's a very tight squeeze on these, and my hand is in bad shape. So I'll use the pliers. All right, so there's our feet and legs are undone here. And we'll take the elastic out. There's our elastic. And here's the hip part. We'll show the bum. There we go. Then we have the chest and mid-torso there. All right, and then the arms are very, very loose. So the hands are a little bit easier to take off, partly because the elastic is a lot smaller. And let's see, I'm still going to need the, all right, and I wasn't prepared for it to get stuck up inside there. Okay. So again, we'll use my skinny hook to pull it out. Alright. So here's where I'm going to go ahead and use some forceps. And you just want to be careful, especially if you have a thin resin. And so what that does is it holds it and keeps it from going back inside there. But now I can get a hold of the hook without as much tension on the elastic, so it doesn't hurt my fingers. Try to get that elastic off of there. It looks like these were strung and then pinched shut. Yeah, they don't want to come off as well. Let's see. I do have some needle nose pliers. So what we're going to do is hold it with one hand and use the needle nose to open that up a little bit. See if that can get the elastic out of there a little bit. There we go. Alright, so we'll put that over there for the hand. Now we can take that apart. And see. Peanuts look like the longer end goes up in the elbow. So you just want to make a note of when the peanuts in the elbows, so you know which direction they go. So it looks like these are made so that the wider end goes up inside the forearm, and then the smaller end, or in the upper arm, and the smaller end goes in the forearm, like this. So keep those lined up. And then this one, we'll take his hand off there. And here again, we've got a lot of tension, I think because of the knot that's still up in the neck. So we'll use our forceps again and lock those into place. There we go. Alright, and then since we know it's going to be a tight squeeze, I'm going to pinch this, get my needle nose pliers in here, pull it just a little so then I can get that elastic out. Okay, now we'll undo this and take out this elastic. Okay, and this forearm and upper arm go there. Okay, so there's our body all taken apart. And I know I want to make this a little bit smaller. So my next step will be to undo the knot. And sometimes these knots are also tied, like when I was a kid, we called it a granny knot. It's just kind of tied higgledy-piggledy, and let's see if I can get a hold of that so I can loosen it. And they're just kind of messy. So when I am tying the knot for a ball jointed doll, I tend to do it more like a loop. So I'll show you the difference here. All right, once we get it untied. So yeah, this so this was tied essentially like a granny knot, which just means you loop it once and then loop it again like this, so that, and I don't know if that will show, but so that this elastic goes, here's our cross loop, this one's under and this one's over, and when you tie it together it just gets really messy. So it's not even a square knot. A square knot will be so that they're the same. So now we have, let's see, here we go. Here's our cross loop, and here's our cross loop. So both of these are underneath, and both of these are underneath. So it's a little bit more neat, but that's not even how I tie my elastic. So that's a granny knot versus a square knot. But when I tie elastic, I'm trying to find all the bands where it was tied. Oh goodness, I like to take both cords, wrap it around my finger, bring both cords up through that loop so that everything is tied like this. That's how I like to tie a knot for a ball jointed doll. So it's totally a matter of your own preference on what you like. But yeah, that's what I do. Now I'm looking at all the excess elastic and wondering if it is this long, if I should try to salvage a piece. I still don't think it would be long enough to really use for anything else, so I'll probably just move the knot down a bit. Not a lot, just a little. And so we'll move it down about here. Okay, and the knot did go up through the neck, but I like to, and do I dare just cut it? Well, maybe I'll try it out first. I like to keep the knot down in the torso or the chest rather than up through the head. So I like to do it more like this so that my knot kind of stays down at the bottom. Maybe I just will. Yeah, maybe I'll just take it all the way up there. Okay, so we're going to take the elastic, and here's where you can use your threader to grab the elastic. And I think there was only one layer that was up on top, and then the others just went across. So we'll try it and see how tight it gets. So I'm going to use the hook to kind of keep it in place. Now we'll go ahead and see how tight it is. So I'll grab one to one side and the other one to the other side. There we go. Okay, and while I'm going to be pulling on these, I'm kind of adjusting so that my knot stays in the middle of the torso. Let's see if I can. So I'm getting about the same amount of elastic on both sides, but I want to keep the knot in the center of the torso. So I'll hold that with my thumb and kind of adjust these. Okay, then I'm going to use a larger forceps because the arm is a larger opening. And then we'll see if that will pull very well all the way through the arm. So now, to make it easier to go through all the channels in the arm, we're going to use elastic in this loop, like so. Alright, now we're going to start our stringing process. So I'm going to use a hook, and here's where the channel comes up and over. So that's what I meant, like when I said sometimes it's hard to deal with the wire if it's too thick, because it's going to go through that narrow channel and the channel will bend. So let's get this pulled back down. Alright, maybe we can get the hook to come back down. I think my hook is catching on something. Yeah, there's a definite corner in there that it's wanting to hook on. Alright, let's get both my strings again. Alright, we'll try it again. Okay, so then we'll pull it down. And I don't know why it's not wanting to. I guess it's just a really, really skinny channel in there. So yeah, wiring this guy is not going to be very much fun. Well, this is going to be too stiff, so let's see. Okay, I'm probably going to have to get something that's more narrow than this because it's not wanting to feed through. So this is just one of the challenges, so I will be back in a moment. Okay, I found some jewelry wire that probably won't show up on camera because it's super thin. It's like thread thin. So we're going to try that. So it's a little bit stiffer and will be able to be pushed down through the channel. And it's very, very thin. So I'm believing that I can go ahead and push that through. Necessity is the mother of invention. So here we go. Now I have both of my strands. Okay, and then I have a loop here. But it is very thin and slippery, so I just let go of the end and had one of them come back up again. So at least you're getting kind of an accurate picture of what it's like to work with restringing dolls. If like me, it's not what you do every day and you're not really used to it a lot, then just know that some of these challenges are very real and common to the hobby. So here we go. So we're going to string those through again, and then I'll know to get a good hold on both of them at this end. There we go. Okay, now we have our strings that we're looping and stringing, looping and stringing. So I'm going to get both of those. So now hopefully I'll be able to pull those down through the channel and not cut my finger. Okay, and I still have both of my ends of my wire, and it is a tight squeeze, but there we go. Okay, well, we'll keep this guy handy and sit him in there. He's just like a weird hair. So okay, so now we can already tell that trying to wire these shoulders is going to be a challenge, but here we go. Now we're going to pull the elastic down through the elbow. Okay, and I think that's going to be a good tension. So now is what I meant by these channels. Yeah, they can be really small. So we're going to go ahead and get the elastic through the elbow. And these elbow joints kind of sit way, way up inside there. And so here's where I use my little discs that I'm going to have them not sit up inside so deep. So I'm going to get a couple of the smaller ones. And these, I do have an unfair advantage because I get them at work. And I have lots of different sizes. I think I'll use these smaller ones. Well, no, maybe this one on the top. And this side on the bottom. I'm looking at where they'll land inside there. Maybe the smaller ones. Okay. So there's two smaller ones. And here's two smaller ones. Alright, so now I've got that string. That's exciting. Okay, so now with my discs, I just cut a little hole in the center by folding it over. And you can use pretty much any material that you want for these. I just happen to have access to this kind of vinyl, and so I like to use that for putting in the disc, because to get the silicone ones, I think you can buy them for ball jointed dolls. For me, it's been hard to find them, and or they're way more than I want to pay for just tiny little pieces of silicone. And I also have used clear vinyl to do this as well, but just with these little circles that I can get, they're already cut in a circle, so it's less work. So I just use these. So we'll cut the center, and I'm doing 4 because that way I'll have 2 ready for the other arm as well. Oops. Finish cutting this guy. My scissors aren't wanting to cooperate very well. Okay, there we go. All these little bits and pieces I can just stick up there and throw away. So now I have just little discs with a hole in the middle, and that one got a little off center. Okay, so 2 for each side. So put that back up there. So now when I'm threading this, I'm going to go through the disc with my thread or my pull string, because that way the elastic can be pulled through the disc as well, and then it will sit up inside that joint. So let's see if we can get that closer to the camera. So, oh, there we go. So you can see there's that disc in there, and that will add a little bit more of spacer kind of thing, so that my elbow then will sit not quite as deep and get quite as caught in there, because these are really deep, and I was noticing that it's kind of floppy in there because there's so much room. So I kind of want to add a little bit more space so this doesn't sit way up inside quite as much. So we'll see. We'll try one at first, and then this channel looks to be very straight, so we'll go through this side and see how that fits, and then we'll have plenty for the hand. Let's see. Now we'll see what the difference would be if I go ahead and put this disc on, and just see how it changes. So now we'll thread through here. Alright, and then pull the elastic through. Okay, and I think I do like that a little bit better. It's like the peanut isn't quite so lost, and it makes it so floppy. So, yeah, I think I like that. So now I am going to go ahead and put my forceps on so I can take off the loop there of my pull string, and I'll get again one of those that has the tiny little loop, and we'll pull that onto the elastic. There we go. And I like to, there we go, hold that with the pliers because I can't grip those, and then I pull the elastic in. There we go. And now we are able to take, and I like the hook to come from the back of the hand, so we'll hook it on there. Now we'll undo the forcep and then let the wrist go back in there, and I think I do like that. Let's see, I'm wondering though, it still fits well. Okay, and then once we start pulling on this other side, That's gonna tighten that up pretty well. Okay, so now we have the other side, which I'm debating on if I want to do the wire first. And I'm wondering if, since that channel is so thin, if I want to just use some of this wire. Just because it was so difficult to thread through there. I should use some of this. Okay, so I got all the tape off of this wire, and because these channels up here in the shoulder are so kind of fun to deal with, I do have a couple little spots on my wire that are a little rough from where the folds previously were. So what I'm going to do is I like to use medical tape, and let's do this here. So I'm just going to wrap a little bit around this rough spot where it was previously bent, just to kind of make it not so rough. So just a little bit there. So the only purpose for that is to cover that spot, because that's where it had been bent before, and so to straighten it made it kind of rough. So now I'm going to measure that if it's about midway to the forearm, up through the shoulder, and to the middle of the chest, will be right about here. And so I want to have the same distance, so right there. So that's where I'm going to cut my wire, and this is real easy to cut. So then I'm going to use just a little bit of the medical tape on the very ends of the wire, just so they're not quite so scratchy. So I kind of go a little bit below the end. I'm just going to wrap that around. It just kind of softens the end so it's not so scratchy. Okay, and we'll do the next one. Okay. Put it in there. Okay, and that just kind of protects the resin a little bit, and it's inside the arm, but that's okay. All right, so now comes the challenge to feed it through the arm first. Let's do this. And it does tend to bend more than the other one, so it did make it through that shoulder bit. So now I need to go through the middle of the disc. Okay, a success there. And then through the little peanuts, I'm going to use my pliers, and I'm going to give it a little bit of a pull to get more length. Okay, and I still have enough elastic pull that I can go through the peanut for the elbow. There we go. And then I'm going to go through the second disc down into the forearm. Okay, okay, so now, because this wire is a very pliable one, I'm going to go ahead and thread it through the chest. And see how it kind of bends a lot? I don't know if I kept that on camera very well. We're going to pull it snug here. Alright, and then we'll come here, and we did end up pulling it a little bit too much. So now I'm going to pull it to where it's about mid-length of the forearm, and that side is all wired. So now when I put this other arm together, I'm going to actually thread the wire at the same time that I do the elastic. Okay, so now we need the shoulder, which is the fun part. So we need our little wire again. And this is really floppy. So I know this doesn't show very much, but here we go. We're putting the wire in. And because it's really floppy, it is hard to control. Okay, so here we've got our wires in. And now we're gonna thread the string through the elastic, and then we're going to pull this down through the arm just to get the string through first. Perfect. Put our little wire away. Alright, so now we're going to string the wire through the shoulder as well. At least get it started. I'm going to put it behind the string and then kind of come down. Okay, now I can see the wire, so now my job will be to pull the elastic, and now I can take this off, and let's see how we do. Okay, so there we go. We have our wire ready, and we have our elastic all the way through the upper arm. So now we're going to do one of our discs. And I always put the cloth part of the disc towards the inside of the joint and the plastic part of the disc towards the peanut part of the joint. And then we'll thread the wire through it as well. Pull our elastic. Okay. And hopefully I didn't make my elastic too short. Okay, so now we need the peanut. We want the wider part of the peanut to go into the forearm. And so our strings down through the peanut. Okay, and the wire through the peanut. Now pull our elastic. All right, then we have the next disc. And we want the slick side toward the peanut. Then thread the wire through the disc as well. Pull the elastic. Okay, now the forearm. And take our strings down through there. Okay, and the wire into place in the forearm. Then pull the elastic. Okay, now we're going to get the forceps so that it won't go back up inside the arm. Okay, and then we want the little one. And it is very tight, so I'm nervous about that. I wonder if I got it too tight. So I'm glad I didn't cut the elastic. So there's the hook. Okay, and then I want the hook to go to the back of the hand. And get it on there. Okay. I got my thumbnail caught in it. Alright, and there's the hand. And there we go. So now he's all good to go. Looks like he's going to stay pretty well. And then we can double check. Make sure the wire is going down into the forearm on both sides. And that elastic is very, very tight. The knot is in the center. So now I'm a little nervous about the ability to go up into the head. Oh yeah, it'll go up into the head. Okay, so there is the arm section. And yeah, I think that'll be fine. It stays where I want it to. Okay, so that part is a success. Now we're going to do the bottom part. Now I've kind of laid out the doll to show the length, and I've untied the knot that I didn't like and added in the knot that I do like, and I've moved it down about an inch. So here, these little rough spots on the elastic is where the previous knot was. So I moved the knot down about an inch, and then I did cut off a lot of excess of elastic. Now this elastic as well, I don't like the knot up in the head. So when I string it, I keep the knot in the torso, and then this elastic loop will be doubled. So it'll look like this in the doll with the, with the floppiness everywhere. All right, so let's put this back down and adjust so that we have the length right. And so I just kind of, I'm going to have one loop for each leg, but I want that knot to stay in the torso. So we're just going to make some adjustments here. So it'll be about like this, so that these loops that go up into the head are nice and smooth, and then the knot stays down here. I also like to wire not just the legs, but the torso. Now this torso has really deep grooves here on the sides, which actually do help hold that in place and not snap so much. But the hips are a little bit looser because this is so shallow. So this can kind of pop in and out. So on a 3-part torso, I do like to wire the entire torso and the legs. So I've cut the wire, and I'm using the coated 100-pound load wire that's going to go over the wire that we put in the shoulders and come down through the torso, down into the legs to about mid-calf. So that's how long I like the wire, because if you only wire over the hips and down into the legs, then this still is real floppy. So that's what we're going to do. Now to do that, it is a little bit difficult because this wire, of course, is stiff. So we're going to have to go over the wire and elastic that's already in here. And I do want to pull that wire a little more snug, which will be a challenge because I've already gotten this really tight. So let's see what we can do here with the wire. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be able to. Well, here we go. This one I can pull a little bit. But I don't want to get it way too long on one side either. So we're going to pull this wire because it's a little wrinkled in the middle. So there we can do that. And this one does need to be pulled. So let's grab this wire. And we're going to give it a tug with my pliers. Okay, and then go ahead and feed it back down into the forearm. And then see if I pull. Oh, yeah, I pulled too far. Okay, there. But we are getting it more straight in here. All right, now feed this. There we go. So we've evened out the wire there. So now we need to take this wire, and sometimes it does benefit to just feed it down through the neck. So let's see if we can do that. Let's feed it down this way. And that way when we come through, we can put one wire on one side, one of our grain on one side, and then one on the other. And bring it back down through. And I'm trying not to catch the hook there. And see if it'll feed down all right. Well, we're doing good so far. So let's see here. There we go. Okay, so now we have that wire is looping over the elastic and the wire that goes across. Sorry. There we go. So it's looping over that, which anchors it. Okay. Now, the next part will be to take our elastic up through the neck as well. So we've gotten the wire out of the way, and we'll keep our hook kind of out of the way. So now we need this wire, and we're going to see if I can not make a total mess. Okay, and I'm going to take the elastic for the body and legs behind the elastic for the chest. So let's see here, we get the, make sure it's kind of even there, and let's see if my hook will get both of those pieces. Okay, and take them back up through the neck. Without getting caught on everything. All right, perfect. Okay, so we'll take that. Well, I got one of them. Try it again. Oh my goodness, the challenges. Okay, we'll try it again. Sorry if I'm knocking the camera wonky. Okay, so get that out of the way. We'll try it again. Down by the bottom. We want to hook both of these. Bring them back up. There we go. Okay, so I have both of those. And now I'm going to hook them both onto the S hook. There we go. Alright. Success here. Now we'll pull them back down so that they're nice and snug. Okay, so now we have both of these elastic loops. Let's see if I can separate them. Okay, there we go. One loop for one side and one for the other. And then one wire for one leg. Alright, so here we go. So now we have the challenge of when we go down through the torso, we want to keep this all separate. Okay, now we're coming back in. So now the torso is up into place. So now we have the hip joint. So we do the wire and the elastic for one side. And then I guess we gotta do the wire here first. There we go. Then the elastic. So the wires we put in first, and then the elastic because the wires are going to be longer. Alright, so then we have all of that in place, and make sure all my strings are in place. Okay, so now our torso is wired and the elastic is ready to go. Now I am going to add some more discs. So I have large ones for the hips. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. Then I want some mediums for the knees. Which those look like more of a medium size. There we go. One more of the medium size. Okay. And once again, we're going to just cut a hole in the center. Okay, so then we will start our stringing process with the elastic disc on each side. If I can get it through. There we go. And the elastic, or not elastic, vinyl. Sorry about that. The vinyl disc on both sides. There we go. Now we need the hip joints. So hip joint here. And a hip joint here. Okay, and now we're going to go ahead and use our strings. One on this side and one on this side. And we're going to go ahead and do the upper thigh. And I will need my stringer here to grab these, because the hole in the knee is smaller than the hole in the top of the thigh, so it is hard to try to string those threads or the pull strings through this hole in the bottom. But here we go. So we're going to put this leg on. Now we have to get the wire down through the bottom, which is kind of difficult because my strings are kind of in the way. Okay, and once we have that in place, I'm going to pull the elastic, and now I'm going to use forceps to hold that elastic in place, because as I pull on this side, it will pull that piece. So now we're going to work on this one. So now we'll get these strings, pull them down. There we go. And now the wire. I can get the wire through there. Okay. And now we'll pull that. Alright, so now this guy is ready to string on this side. So now we have the knee joint. The larger part goes up here. So we're going to go ahead and put in a disc. I think, yeah, in the top part. So we're going to have the cloth side of the disc towards the inside of the joint. We need to put the wire through it as well. Pull the elastic through there. And put that snug up into the joint. Then we'll go ahead and thread the peanut for the knee. And take the wire through. And here, my wire is kind of exposed. Okay, so there's the knee. Now we have the shin. And this, I don't know if we'll be able to just thread these are the more narrow strings. Yeah, and so they'll go through there all right. And then of course the wire has to go inside there. You pull it up into place, and now we want to go ahead and grab the other pair of forceps. So that I can put on the hook here. And again, I'm going to go ahead and use the pliers. Give that a good grip. And, well, might have to, I'm trying not to turn the doll because he's already in a good spot here for the camera. So I'm trying to, there we go. And hook that on. Now we have to get this back onto the foot, and I like to take the hook over the, and so now we have to try to get this back onto the foot, and I don't really have a tool to do that. So this might be the challenge, is getting it to actually go back onto the bar that's in the foot. And let's see if I can. There we go. Needle nose help. Okay, then we'll undo that. And there we have that side all done. Yeah, and the knee still goes up snug with that extra little disc in, so I think that'll be fine. Okay, so now we only used one disc for the leg, so we're only going to use one on this side. So here we go. And we're going to go cloth side towards the inside of the joint and thread it over the wire and over the elastic, and we can get rid of that. Okay, snug up into the joint. Now the knee, the peanut for the knee, and the larger side goes towards the thigh, and then the wire through it as well. Okay. I think my wire is a little wonky there. Okay. Now we'll go down through the second shin bone, and this might be a little bit more, yeah, let's go ahead and use this because I have a thicker, more fuzzy thread or pull strings this time. Hook them on the hook. There we go. Okay, now the wire through the shin and pull my elastic down. Alright, so now I'm going to grab the forceps again, take out the string. Alright, then I'm going to grab my pliers and put the elastic on. Alright, I'm keeping my forceps on there though because I don't want that to snap back up inside the leg. Then, to get this hooked into the foot, we'll use our needle nose pliers to get it down in there if I can. Let's see, this one's a little more difficult, I think. Okay. I think I'm at a bad angle as well. Let's move our fella. Okay. And hopefully I'll have this on the camera so you can see what's happening. I'm just trying to push that down far enough because my elastic is kind of thick and doesn't want to let it go in deep enough to hook on the bar down there. Oh, here we go. Do it at bottom angle maybe. Did I get it? Almost. Let's see here. What might actually help? How about this little wire guy? See if he can pull him down in there. That might actually work. There. Perfect. Alright, now we'll pull this little wire. This little wire, hair wire, Boy, he's come in handy today. All right, then here is our fella. There's still some looseness here, but some of that's going to be taken up when I pull the head on. So now that he's strung and wired, we'll make him decent. Okay. All right, so now we'll turn it from a body into a BJD. So now our next thing will be to take this guy's head off. So where's my stronger hook? I'm going to, let's see, just take the S hook here and pull it and turn it. There we go. So we take his head off of there, off of this guy. And I did have, let's see, yeah, on, it looks like I used some vinyl on this one as well, and a large disc to kind of hold his head up a little bit and give it more maneuverability. So let's go ahead and grab another large disc. Here is a couple pieces of clear vinyl. So I'm going to cut a circle out of this. And let's see. I dropped the little piece, but oh well. Okay, so there's that one. Now we'll cut a hole in this as well for the elastic to feed through. Okay. All right, so then, let's see, I think we're going to do, I want the vinyl to stick kind of together to hold it in place. So I am going to take the vinyl side towards the head because it's the head that I want to be able to pose well. So let's see, in order to do that, I'm going to need to pull this up, and I think I want to secure this elastic taller so that I can feed that elastic through there. So this is where sometimes you need some extra maneuverability. So I will probably be using my legs a little bit here to hold him in place while I get this prepared. Okay, so I need to pull up and then be able to put the forceps on. So hopefully I'm not damaging the view too bad. So I don't know if this is on camera or not, but this is when it would really be, oh goodness, helpful to have another set of hands. Okay, there we go. So now my strips here first are going to go the hook through it. Then I'm going to hook the elastic so that I can string the elastic through the discs so that it will be under the head. Pull that. Okay, there we go. So now I have the elastic through those, and now I'm going to carefully put my S hook back through the elastic. There. Okay, and now I'll take out this. And I'm not sure why one is so much bigger than the others. Okay, but now we can take off the forceps because we have the S hook in here. Okay, so there we go. Oh my goodness. Okay, so that part is a success. So now I'll put the hook through the head and through the S hook here. Now we'll pull it up through the head and give it a twist and turn it over. Okay, so inside looks like that. Okay, so now he's all put together. Looked like I was really pulling his joints. Okay, so yeah, we want to keep him decent now that he has a face, because now he has more of an identity. So put his head on there. And so here is RM with the bigger body. And let's compare his, well, that other one is way smaller, but let's go ahead and compare this height and make sure it's going to be okay. So if his feet were in the shoes, be right here. So he is going to be a little bit taller, which I like, and a little bit fuller. So I will put these clothes on this body, and then we'll take a look at him. Here is the doll all dressed, and he does have bigger feet, so he's not able to wear these boots, but I do have the black shoes that do fit him. But I didn't want to put on the jacket yet, because this he fills out this shirt a lot more. It's not near as loose as on the other body type, so he does fill out the clothing a lot more, which is what I wanted. But still all the clothing fits well. So let's see if we can go ahead and put on the jacket here and see how that looks. So slip that up onto there, kind of round out the shoulders and fix his hair a little bit. All right, and so then we have the jacket, which still fits fine. There we go, we can still get it on. There's enough room to go ahead and snap it shut if we want. So yeah, there is the successful reshell of RM for this new body style, which he is all done and ready to go. So now I will give Shuga the thinner tall body here and transfer all his clothing, which will be nice because the pants won't be so wrinkled then. So yeah, that is how I struggle and have victory in restringing, wiring a new body type, especially the MiroDoll, because they are pretty loose when you get them. But that way you can kind of see some of the struggles that are very real and yet very doable. So I hope that was helpful if you are looking to restring or wire a doll. Hopefully the editing won't be so messy that you can't see anything. And yeah, thanks for coming along, and I'll see you next time. Bye.